if you want to be safe in a city, if you want to be safe in your neighborhood, then you better care about the justice system and about what goes in and out of the prisons.
We as a nation have become blind not so much to race, but to the existence of racial caste. We've become blind to the existence of a group of people who are locked into a second-class status and become indifferent to their suffering.
We've got thousands of people in this city that need training, that need jobs, that need economic opportunity, that need housing, and that they need a sense of hope that many of them don't have now.
I would say people that, even if they don't have people in the prison system, they should care my own opinion, because it's only right. You know, like they're human just like y'all are. So what's the difference?
It's very common to go to some neighborhoods and very hard to find a family that doesn't have somebody somewhere in the criminal justice system.
They say criminals should be locked in prison, but they living in a big house that's white. It's not right. We gotta fight. They don't lock up corporate criminals that ruin the planet. Jails packed with mostly blacks and Hispanics. It's riddled with a lot who got time that's innocent. I had to fight, had to fight, had to fight.
For almost 200 years, this country had a direct correlation between crime and prison populations. And the prison populations rose and fell just a little bit, but were generally the same. And then about 30 or so years ago, it just went off the charts. Decisions were made to utilize incarceration to address social ills that had never been made before. Primarily the drug war, criminalizing all kinds of conduct that in the past had been subject to treatment, mental illness, drugs, alcohol, things of that nature. There was a decision made by both major political parties to use incarceration to address social ills, and it caused a tremendous increase in prison populations. We have 5% of the world's population, yet we have 25% of the world's prison population.
You know, we're building prisons rapidly, fast. And each year we're talking about every two years, you know, they're overcrowded. So I'm saying that cannot be the answer. I mean, people just don't want to come to jail, I don't think. You know, I just don't buy that. But the whole concept is that if you put that much time in rehabilitation as you do put money in jails, you know, what difference would that make? So we at the same scenario that we just keep billing and more people come to jail. You know what I mean? And then you put them back on the street again to another 6 months, another year, they're back in the jail again. You know what I mean? So where's the recidivism?
Sometimes crime goes down like it has in the recent past, although it's heading up again. And criminologists love to debate why that is. And there's wide disagreement. I think people do agree that the economy plays an important role in the social picture and therefore in the use of criminal justice. The use of confinement is responsive to what we do about crime. So if we are arresting everybody, there goes the population. In the 80s and 90s, the drug epidemics started as cocaine, then changed to crack cocaine, and now we're into very bad days.
President Reagan officially declared his drug war in 1982 at a time when drug crime was actually on the decline, not on the rise. It was about racial politics, not drug crime. But they got lucky. And a couple years after the drug war was declared, crack hit the streets. First in Los Angeles and later spread to communities of color across America.
We need your help. We desperately right now, we need every person, even outside of having a loved one in prison. We need your help. We're seeing prison become part of an educational thing here in Philadelphia, that not only are kids being disciplined, they're being sent to these CEP prison schools. So if for no other reason you don't want to get involved, save our youth. Save our youth who are like destined.
Nothing short of a major social movement has any hope of ending this system. But I don't think we should become discouraged or overwhelmed by that. You know, there was a time when people thought there would be no way that Jim Crow could ever be brought to its knees. But a major social movement did arise that managed to do precisely that. Well, we've got to do it again.
Nourish me, water me, mother me, father me. Nourish me, water me, mother me, father me.
We make sure that our students go inside the Philadelphia prisons, but also inside the state prisons, and play a role in discussions with the inmates, and somehow realizing that the people who are there are people like you and me, less fortunate at the moment, and to realize that they're human beings. And so the way to think about helping that situation is to sort of identify the problems that you see that are involved with people going to prison and staying in prison, and when they come out of prisons.
Nourish me, water me, mother me, father me.
We've got to begin to embrace those labeled criminals, not necessarily all of their behavior, but them, their humanness. So we've got to open our hearts and our minds and start telling the truth to each other about how this system operates, where it came from, and what it's doing to our communities in the present. And this dialogue can begin in schools, in churches, and in community centers. And once we all begin to wake up, I think a major social movement is far more likely.
When I first started school, elementary, I started school at Thomas May Parish. The daughter attends it now.
What grade is your daughter at?
She's in kindergarten. She just started.
Who's your favorite teacher?
Mr. Moore.
What do you teach?
He was my second grade teacher. He was the best teacher I had. I still be in connection with him now.
Does he still teach that?
Yeah.
So your daughter might have him in a couple of years.
Just about. Yeah.
She's lucky.
Yeah.
People who are living in ghetto communities today, experience tremendous frustration because not only are they being, targeted in clearly biased ways by law enforcement, in countless ways. They experience the discrimination and often brutality of our criminal justice system. And yet the people in those communities also desperately need law enforcement protection. They desperately need crime prevention. And so they're caught, they're trapped. And this creates a dynamic in which, police departments can say, well, those communities want us. They ask for us to come in. And they want us to get tough on the violent offenders in their community. And they want us and they need us. Look, they're demanding more law enforcement protection. But the problem is that it's the only thing that people of color can ask for and get.
Stop fighting now. Yo, he down, man. Good. I'm scared. Stop. Stop fighting. I'm scared. Stop. Yo, come up here, OG. They fucking us scared up, dog. I'm scared. Stop it. You're fucking on the killing, man. Stop it. Stop it. Give me this shit, y'all. I'm scared. Quit fighting. Quit fighting.
Go ahead. Make your point, sir. I think we ought to be tough. I like the concept you liberals like to accuse me, we conservatives, of wanting hanging judges. I do.
You do?
I want tough laws. I want them to be enforced. I do a lot of different things.
If you trace the origins of the get tough rhetoric, you can actually trace it all the way back to segregationists who were searching for colorblind rhetoric.
Our streets are not safe. Immorality begins to flourish. Violence pits American against American.
Once the civil rights movement began to gain steam and it no longer became acceptable to say segregation forever. And they were searching for a rhetoric that would appeal to poor and working class white voters, particularly in the South, who were threatened by and resentful of many of the gains of African Americans in the civil rights movement. Now, the civil rights movement really rocked the world of poor and working class white folks in the South. Wealthy whites could send their kids to private schools and give their kids all of the advantages that wealth has to offer. But poor and working class whites were faced with a social demotion in the advent of the civil rights movement. It was their kids who were, going to be bused across town to a school that they thought was inferior.
Follow as your children are bused across town.
As president, I shall, within the law, turn back the absolute control of the public school systems to the people of the respective states.
Well, pollsters and political strategists found that by using these racially coded, catchphrases, getting tough on crime and cracking down on welfare, getting tough on them.
The other America is no longer a dream, but a nightmare. We don't want this.
They could appeal to those voters as effectively, if not more so, as with the segregation forever and the explicitly racist rhetoric. We now have today a system unparalleled anywhere else in the world that was born of racial divisions.
Let us believe that we can stop money from going into jail across this country. Let us believe that we can threaten any oppressive power structure in this country that is opposing the youth. Let us believe